Hi, I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I'm referred to as the Big Game Hunter because I coach people to play their game big. And I was originally going to do something about job hunting since so many people come to me about that, but I just thought I would talk about coaching in general and see if I can be encouraging you to reach out to me for coaching. So if this sounds like an infomercial, I apologize in advance, but I just run into so many people who need help that in one way or another, folks have gotten dulled to their senses and dulled to their emotions and feelings, and they're less successful than they could be. I'll give you an example. I worked for an agency in New York for many years, and I should have left years before because at the end of the day, the owner was crazy. And understand, I'm trained as an MSW. I practiced as a therapist. I can give you his diagnosis, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The guy ran an abusive environment. I went to another organization, and it was a different version, a much more skillful version of having a crazy owner. It wasn't that pathologically abusive, but at the end of the day, we were all worn down. We were all worn down to conform to a format that really wasn't effective for management or for us. And don't get me wrong, I did very good sales there. I did so for many years before I decided to leave. But at the end of the day, my story was I was playing small because I was afraid to step out on my own again and play big. Now, as you look at me now, I'm not 24. If you're 24, 34, 44, or whatever age you are, I'll simply say that you don't have to accept that conditioning that has prompted you to play small for so long. Playing small. Let me give you an example. When you were little, did you have a lot of fun? Did you play? Did you have a good time? Were things handled for you? Of course they were. Only those of you who grew up in abusive homes didn't have that experience. It may not have been perfect, but overall it was probably decent. In the U.S., we talk about it being middle class in one way or another. And then you get into school, and in one way or another, you're conditioned. You're conditioned for later in life. Later in life, to sit there at a desk when you're 5 or 6 years old, do what you're told, get good grades, get promoted. Is this sounding familiar for many of you? Isn't that what you're doing now? You're sitting at a desk, trying to get good reviews, hoping to get a crumb of a compliment in order to get promoted. How's that working for you, folks? Because for most of you, it really isn't. And yeah, you're making a good living, but let's look beyond that good living. How do you feel about yourself? Do you feel like you're completely fulfilled, or you're playing smaller than that? Most people I run into are playing much smaller than that. And, one day you wake up and you realize, is that all there is? Great line from a Jack Nicholson movie some years ago. They did with Helen Hunt. I want to say it had the title Schmidt as part of it. I forget what the full title of the movie was. But when push comes to shove, one day you wake up and you realize a lifetime is not a long time. You may like to think of yourself as being immortal, but life has a way of showing you how foolish you are to hold those beliefs. Now, I'm not here to suggest that what you should be doing is quitting your job tomorrow. By the way, Slugworth, welcome. I'm not saying you should quit your job, but get some support in playing bigger. Find someone to speak with who will support you and coach you into being the person that you want to be. Now, I'll simply say, for those of you who've joined, come grab a seat. Let me do some coaching with you. Let's see where I can be of support. And love to have you in the seat with me. Otherwise, I'll just continue on with my diatribe here and say to you that, playing big will involve a certain amount of risk. You will have to wake up. You will have to figure out for yourself whether or not you're willing to gamble on having a life that is unsatisfactory or one that is. And you may try things and they may not work out. So I'll say to you that what for many people they're afraid of is making a mistake. Again, part of that conditioning that you've had. You were conditioned that if you got an 88 on a test or a 68 on a test, you could be bad and screw things up and affect others. But you know what? When push comes to shove, all you're doing is learning something. You're trying to learn how to function better. You get to the work world as an adult. And if you make a mistake, you can be reprimanded and abused. It's like a legacy of working on a shop floor in the 19th century. Joe could be called out for having made a mistake that caused him to shut the line down. Well, it doesn't really work that way anymore. And it's not really working for many of you that way anymore. I'll say that for most of you, what makes sense is make some mistakes, try some things, figure it out, with support by taking some risks. Now, again, I'm not suggesting you jump out of an airplane. Most of the risks you're taking that are causing you to play small really wouldn't be all that big, but you're afraid. You're afraid because there's something at risk for you to make change. And you haven't figured out yet that you're not happy doing what you're doing, and the fear of failure on the other side is holding you back. And in that paradox between where you are now that's unsatisfactory and your fear of failure, there's really no place to win. So I just want to encourage you, spend a little time experimenting. Go do something different. Get some support. And frankly, most of your friends aren't going to be the kind of help that a professional coach can be. So if you want to try it with a friend, usually what happens is people get stymied. They take a step forward. They're not successful. People say, oh, good, you're taking care of yourself. That's real nice. Instead of encouraging you to play bigger. There's a podcast I was listening to recently where it was presented as being, sort of a college student. College student has been admitted to a university of their choice, and now they have a decision to make. Should I take the easy course where I can get the easy A, or the hard course where maybe I'll wind up with a B? And raises the subject with the dean that they're speaking to, and poses those two options. And the dean says, well, there is a third choice. Really? What's the choice? You could take the hard choice and get an A. Well, I'm going to encourage you here, go for the hard choices, because at the end of the day, you wake up older, unsatisfied, and wondering where your life has gone. Rather than doing that, like I said, reach out for coaching. If you want to find out about me, my website for coaching is nobscoachingadvice.com. And if you want to email me with questions, the address to email is jeffaltmancoach@gmail.com. Let's figure out a time to speak. I'll do a complimentary session with you. And then from there, if you'd like to go further, we'll work out a model that makes sense for you. Hope you have a great day. Take care.